The White House looks pretty boring outside, but I'm sure if you're walking around and you're seeing all this like colonial architecture everywhere, you're like kind of in awe, right?
Hmm.
Just like the Jefferson Memorial, that all these pillars and these
Right.
things, right? You're going to be in awe, and it just represents, this like this powerful time in human
Greek,
history. I feel,
Romans.
like, and so we don't have that anymore. And so what do we have instead? We have a lot of glass. We have glass everywhere. Everything's just freaking glass,
Or concrete
and it kind
boxes.
of we're concrete boxes with glass, and it kind of represents what we are currently in the stage, right? Glass is very fragile. It's just sand. It can be dust in the wind if broken, right? And we're just these concrete things. But something like these architectures that are not even from too long ago, like 300, 400 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Something like these things that you see, and like I said, these pillars, and like we just described, they come from this Greek aesthetic, this Roman aesthetic, um, of civilization.
They're taking things out of context, saying 20% of foreclosures have grown in the last year. What they don't tell you is that we're at like all-time low foreclosures. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous what's going on. If you listen
yeah.
to people like Michael Burry too much, people like yourself or myself or younger than us will never invest until it happens. And it could be tomorrow or it could be 10 years from now. And they just missed out on 10 years of gains. That's
But
the
but
problem with
I don't think
like a
it
Mike Burry.
warrants that. Like, I don't think it turns into that, because this doesn't make me want to not invest. It makes me be more realistic with how I should invest.
Three balls, two strikes, pressure is on. This is where we discuss real estate, property improvement, and business. Together, we'll strategize on how to win. Welcome to the Full Count. Hey, welcome back to Full Count Podcast. Your host, Andrew, and we have the co-host, AJ. A lot to talk about today about architecture and how that inspires you, or maybe it doesn't motivate you, along with some Michael Burry drama that's been going on. He finally got on a
Oh yeah.
podcast, first time ever, which was pretty exciting, and that's what we're going to get into. AJ, take it away.
Yeah, it is really exciting, and it kind of it didn't drop out of nowhere. It dropped in the middle of this kind of beef he has with Palantir lately.
You're right.
We'll go more into it, but one thing that I thought was very interesting and kind of funny is that he says that the moment that Palantir, well, Alex Karp from Palantir realized that Michael Burry was shorting Palantir, he automatically started attacking him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and that's already a bad sign, and that makes perfect sense, even for somebody. I'm trying to come from a place where maybe somebody doesn't know too much about this world, but that's kind of common sense, right? If somebody is in America is shorting your company, if you're attacking them off rip, it's kind of defensive. That doesn't look good off rip. So I found that very interesting when he said that, to be honest with you. But
I understand your point, what you're saying with Alex Karp attacking, Michael Burry. Totally understand that point. You are correct. But at the same time, there's a different aspect to it, because Robert Schiller, who made the book Narrative Economics, basically says that emotions drives the market. So if it's negative emotion or positive, it can really affect the stock market, and amongst other things with viral moments. So I think it's a little bit of both things. But I think you're right. We'll get into it in a moment if you want to go ahead and get into the architecture aspect.
Well, first off, let me just say that that makes perfect sense to me as well, though. That emotion, whether negative or positive, will have an effect. So that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting point. There's a lot of conspiracies out there about why we lost that flavor.
Uh-huh.
That amazing rustic look that we used to have. That like Americana, colonial, whatever you want to call it. But
Well, let
there's
me
a
let me
bunch of
mention
conspiracy.
actually. Let me mention in Washington D.C. these buildings are like neoclassical, some brutalist, but modernist, and then there's like federal style Art Deco, which is where you're from. A lot of these buildings in D.C. and some other federal buildings that are older have this cool style to it that when you walk in, you feel vibrant and happy. Or even in like Italy, you see the Mediterranean. But now I think this is what you're saying. Things are kind of boring.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, you walk into some of these buildings, like like even something like the White House. The White House looks pretty boring outside, but I'm sure if you're walking around and you're seeing all this like colonial architecture everywhere, you're like kind of in awe, right?
Hmm.
Just like the Jefferson Memorial, that all these pillars and these
Right.
things, right? You're going to be in awe, and it just represents, this like this powerful time in human
Greek,
history. I feel,
Romans.
like, and so we don't have that anymore. And so what do we have instead? We have a lot of glass. We have glass everywhere. Everything's just freaking glass,
Or concrete
and it kind
boxes.
of we're concrete boxes with glass, and it kind of represents what we are currently in the stage, right? Glass is very fragile. It's just sand. It can be dust in the wind if broken, right? And we're just these concrete things. But something like these architectures that are not even from too long ago, like 300, 400 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Something like these things that you see, and like I said, these pillars, and like we just described, they come from this Greek aesthetic, this Roman aesthetic, um, of civilization. And so we like walking into that and being reminded of this. We walk into this like it feels like an altar, like a testament to history. And so none of that's going on anymore. We don't have any of that anymore. We have, like you said, these cubed buildings, glass windows,
Right.
and and fluorescent lighting, and it's miserable. And that's why everybody in the US is suicidal and shooting each other, right? Because we're just stuck in these boxes
Yeah.
with with glass windows and
Cubicles.
fluorescent lighting. That's why this light right here is a little yellow, because I didn't want this white
Right.
thing.
LED lights that are just white and blaring like you're in a negotiation room is probably not too healthy for us overall. And I think that was the point of what's going on with all these talking points about architecture. Um,
Yeah, it's almost like, if you want to get conspiratorial with it, it's almost like, something that the way that cattle would live, right? It's the way that cattle would live, right? And these like boxed
hmm.
things
Hmm.
with bright lights, and we're all just waiting around and uninspired, right? I know that's very exaggerative and dramatic for me to say, but if you want to get conspiratorial with it, it feels like that. It feels like it's meant to uninspire us.
Yeah, it's like the Ford company. It's all manufacturing on a line, and that's kind of like the motions of what they want people to be employees that work for the employer and spit out products or services. At least that's what it was back in the day, right after World War II. And I think we had a discussion earlier on, and you were saying the postmodernism, right?
Right. I mean, so that came around in the 80s. You know what I mean? I would say, I want to say like,
70s,
you know,
late 60s, 70s, postmodernism. It was a
right. But
rejection.
I want to say,
Hmm.
go on, sorry.
It was a rejection
Rejection?
of modernism and traditional values. Postmodernism, that's where you got all that um, weird shapes and boring, like what we were talking about, boring buildings, boring architecture, and that
Yeah,
was
very Andy Warhol things.
kind of, yeah, exactly. Andy Warhol, like kind of ugly art, but some of it was cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying like that was so whack, and was it like a psyop of some sort where they just pushing this art to make us kind of excited about something that was actually ugly. I will say though,
Well,
mid-century modern homes, that architecture that I actually love, like you love Art Deco. That is not postmodernism. That was in the 1930s. Just so everyone knows, we're not shitting on mid-century modern.
yeah. You don't want the beef from the post-century modern crowd.
Right.
Very, very toxic crowd.
Well, I'm that
You don't
crowd.
want
I like it, so I don't want to talk
Yeah,
crap on
that's
it.
your
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, look, that's part of this whole conspiracy thing of what could be going on. You know, it's funny you said where you're from. I'm from Art Deco.
Florida,
But
man, that's the
but
booming architecture there from the 1920s, right?
but the last bit of Art Deco left in Florida,
Hmm.
sorry, in Miami, is on Ocean Drive, and it's just like changing more and more and more. That's eventually just going to go away. And these are the things that represent our country. Like Miami has Art Deco. I don't know what it's called in Philadelphia, but they have this like, East Coast, this Northeast Coast colonial thing in Philly that they
Neoclassical.
also kind of carry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That they carry into like, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all these things. You know what I mean? And I've been around there before, and it's amazing. It's great. And Definitely very incredible feats of human, accomplishment. I'm not going to compare it to the pyramids, but it's just there's something to say about our country having those landmarks in the cities, So it goes way further than architecture, right? Because we could be talking about music as well. This is kind of like a culture thing in general. But I think you think about it. I think where you're living, where you live, what you look at every day, it's going to have an effect on your emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like the guy said about a negative emotion or positive emotion is going to have an effect on the market. Like a negative
Robert
image or a
Schiller.
positive
Yep.
image is going to have an effect on a person. So I'll give you a quick example. When I was in high school, before I got to high school, the school looked like shit. It was this like pink colored, like it looked like a place where you take animals to just drop them off if you just find them on the street. It looked like a terrible place with like broken
Like the
fences
pound.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And and my cousins went to that high school, and they said the rats would fall from the ceiling.
Are you
When my
serious?
year, yeah, it's
That's
called Miami Beach
disgusting, dude.
Senior High.
Wow.
Yeah, because you know how like some schools have that ceiling in offices as well.
Yeah.
It's very flimsy.
Right.
Yeah, so apparently the rats would just fall. So, but they were a couple years ahead of me. When I got there, around 2009, they had completely revamped the entire
Mm.
school, and it was the newest school like in South Florida. It's this crazy architecture. You could look it up. We'll post the pic here, but the architecture of that school is insane, and so it is something to look at. It is a nice piece of marvel to look at. It's going to have a positive or a negative effect on you. You know what I mean? But as opposed to other schools, like there's schools in Coral Gables. Maybe you've seen a few. They're very different from that. They don't have that
Yeah.
Miami Beach architecture.
It's more Spanish, isn't it? In Coral Gables, beautiful.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Way more rustic Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah.
another pretty vibe too, though. But I think it is true. The reason why architecture exists is because it's an art and it makes you feel a certain way, and it inspires the masses in a cultural way. And when you have crappy buildings and dark and boring, what does it do to you? Like you were kind of saying earlier, could maybe make you just follow and not critically think, not it kills your life, I guess, your spirit in some ways.
100%. 100%. It completely uninspires you. Um, Sorry, I just keep hearing this jingle. It completely uninspires you. And think about cars. Think about cars. Think about how cars were in postmodern, like postmodern cars. Just think about like in the 60s and 70s what we had, like the Chevy Impala, like the Mustang, all these hot rods, that were coming out. And now think about what we have now. We have like a Cybertruck. I mean, I'm sure there's amazing cars out there
Well,
as
let's
well, but
backtrack really quick. Postmodernism is actually the bad form of architecture. I think that's what you meant to say. So like the Cybertruck is a perfect example of postmodernism, that like rejection of
right,
traditional
right. Yeah. There's no, that's what I meant. Like, well, it doesn't even start there. It goes like I would
brutalism.
say this probably. Yeah, yes, brutalism. Yeah, this like brutalist type of like car, this very boxy, boring white gray car. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. It's the cars, it's the buildings, it's the music, right? It's the
Oh yeah.
music. It's what we're listening to. It's what frequency you're listening to. I mean, yeah, you could again, if you want to get conspiratorial with this, right? And then if you want to get even more tinfoil, there's like people who talk about like the mud flood.
No. What is that?
You ever heard that?
Mud.
Oh, it's Tartaria. Yeah, it's like apparently there's a bunch of crazy architecture, like forgotten human technology and architecture underneath a bunch of mud in the
Ah,
world.
never heard of that.
You never heard of that?
No. Like
I
the
think
pyramids,
I
you mean?
think
Like
it's
like the pyramids, how they're out, they're on the exterior of the ground, right? And then they actually go a lot deeper. Is that what you're talking about?
right. Yes,
Yeah.
something like
Like there's
that. So
different levels
imagine
downward. I've heard of that.
This is just an example. I'm not saying somebody believes this. I'm sure somebody does, but I'm not saying it. Um, Imagine as if somebody believes that like below the White House is like, a bigger, like crazier White House has been there for like 1,000 years, and that's why we built the White House on top of that White House, kind of thing.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I've heard like the Masonic shape of DC is a certain way with different pathways to the White House. Very weird. I haven't really looked into that. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it wasn't what I was talking about, but I mean, that's what I was going to say. We're talking about architecture. There is so much crazy architecture like that around DC,
Right.
around New York, around San Diego. San Diego's.
Really?
Oh yeah,
No way. Tell me
oh
some San
yeah.
Diego stuff because I used to live there for a minute, and I still sell there.
Now I'm
So
gonna get shot. Now I'm gonna get killed.
is that like the Masons,
Um,
the Mason stuff?
you have to think about it. The naval officers are all like in San Diego. The
Oh
Navy's in
yeah,
San Diego. Yeah, everything is there. And so in the 60s and 70s, and now this is the part where this will probably get more interesting. Can't really talk about culture change without Laurel Canyon. Okay, Laurel Canyon, for people who don't know, and I'm not a Laurel Canyon professional here, but Laurel Canyon, if you don't know too much, it's basically was this hotbed for the hippies.
right.
You had like the
The
Grateful
Doors.
Dead, yeah, the Doors, all these people. I think the Grateful Dead maybe, but like folk music. I think Charles Manson was like coming out of
Yeah.
Laurel Canyon, if I'm not mistaken. So Laurel Canyon wasn't really this innocent hippie thing. There was CIA involvement with that, and that's not to say the CIA is just evil, evil, evil people that are just intercepting even the hippies, but
Yeah.
it was this intricate thing. I mean, I'm just talking about the conspiracy. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm saying this is what people say, right?
Yeah, the Rand
In order,
Corporation, they were against the Vietnam War. They wanted to get people to discredit them from being against the Vietnam War, the
how do you get
hippies.
people to discredit the people that are protesting the Vietnam War? They're smelly, they look
Drugged
bad,
up. Yeah.
they're race mixing, that's a big one.
Oh, wow, I didn't hear about that one.
I mean, the hippies were all like, joining hands, I'm just saying they use a lot of division on every front. They're doing drugs. Look at this nasty music. This is the devil's music. All these things, right? And so the CIA was involved with Laurel Canyon, and even someone like Jim Morrison from the Doors. What I'm saying now is nothing exclusive. This has been
Right.
talked about
For sure.
plenty of times. Okay, Jim Morrison's father was the head of operations, a naval officer, the head of operations um, during the Gulf of Tonkin, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken,
I
which
think
is
so.
kind of insane because that's why we got into the Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah. The Gulf of Tonkin incident where wasn't it that our ships were destroyed and that's why we got involved or something, but it
Yeah,
really didn't happen.
yeah.
I saw
So I
Jesse
mean,
Ventura talk about that, with his voice. He's like, my my friends and I got
my
into the Gulf
friend,
of or
my
in
friends and I,
Vietnam.
we lost
Yeah.
guys in there. We
Which
lost
is really
guys.
sad actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Chris Kyle lied about punching him. You ever heard about that?
Yeah, dude. Chris
How crazy
Kyle
is that?
was
He's a
it
liar.
destroyed for that specific incident, unfortunately, yes, he lied. Jesse Ventura won, but he got character assassination, unfortunately, and he hasn't really come back ever since. Jesse Ventura, like he,
Dude, the real ones know. Like for Jesse Ventura's out there being a truth teller. He's a wrestler. He was a frogman. You know what I mean? Like for him to
even the
lie
Navy
about
SEAL community excommunicated him to some degree.
because of that, well, maybe because Chris Kyle meant so much, but bro, I don't really buy that. Like I don't really care for that. Didn't really like that movie, to be honest with you. I love Clint Eastwood as a director. Gran
Oh,
Torino, what a
he,
fantastic film. Just kidding. Um,
yeah,
but
that one actually was a good film.
it was
Um,
okay. It was
I liked
okay.
it for its
I
time.
liked it, but I thought it was like a little unnecessary sometimes. There was some amazing, funny ass jokes in there. Don't get me wrong, but there's like a couple things in there that, like, I don't know.
But okay, so um, what were we saying? Jesse Ventura. I mean, we don't have to
Chris
go down that rabbit hole,
Kyle.
Jesse Ventura, but
I brought up Chris Kyle.
Chris Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, but not to get too sidetracked, but I do think that you know maybe the entire military community excommunicated Jesse Ventura for that kind of beef, even though it seems like he was telling the truth.
He was, because he won the lawsuit.
Chris Kyle seems like he represented this kind of military industrial complex poster boy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this
What was
guy
that
like,
movie
oh,
too? That
course,
movie inspired people to go to the Middle East in a way.
course, 100%. Like I want to get killed like this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, and at the end, he was like helping veterans, and he got shot and everything. And it's like this very
Mm-hmm.
sacrificial story. We all like a good sacrificial story, you know, a good sad story. But yeah, I never bought into that stuff. And when I heard about the Jesse Ventura thing, I was like, well, all of this is seems very fake and well, you know. But anyway, so just to bring back,
Laurel
um,
Canyon. So
yeah,
before we go into Laurel Canyon, because I want to share a story about something that involves me there, sort of, recently this year. But finish off with San Diego. What's up with the sailors and the Navy and whatever in terms of like the presence of the culture or the architecture, whatever we were talking about earlier
well,
with
well,
DC, the
what,
layout
what,
of DC.
what I'll say is that you know it's very evident. You know, you have the ships are there. They're stationed there. You know, so big military military presence. Let me look this up if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, Bohemian Grove is located there.
No, dude, I thought that was in the East Coast by Jekyll
No,
Island or something.
no, it's not.
Are you sure?
Nope. Northern California, owned by Bohemian Club.
Yeah,
Monterey, California. Where's Monterey?
that's definitely not in San Diego, bro.
Is a census designated place in Sonoma County, California. Where's Sonoma?
Northern California?
That's not close to San Diego.
No, dude.
Okay.
I forget you're
Well,
not from here. You don't
yeah,
understand this
dude.
geography.
Yeah.
So you're so wrong about that, about San
Okay.
Diego.
Well, I mean, look, in general, California is kind of like a whole cooked thing. Like you guys have like, you know,
Why? What?
crazy you guys have crazy involvements from, you know, all these shadow things from all over, you know, like San Diego is full of that stuff. It's full of secret military planes, secret
Yeah, that's
military
true.
projects for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
the people that live there know about other stuff and work on other stuff and work on other black ops projects, you know. So yeah, California is a hotbed for that in general, I would say. And like culturally, California seems to have changed a lot in the last 60 years for sure. Obviously, mass immigration in the country changes all the city. You know, maybe Miami as well.
Right.
But we've always been kind of used to Miami being very Hispanic, very Latin, very Caribbean. And I think now people are finally used to California being super Mexican, you know, so it is what it is. And with that, you're going to have change with that as well. And but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked now.
You're getting very sidetracked. Let's go back to Laurel Canyon because I want to share something funny. I almost bought the home directly across the street from the compound of Jared Leto, where at some point the Air Force, CIA, or whatever had owned that piece of real estate before to influence the movie industry. It had Marilyn Monroe there, among other people, and there was part of the whole incident of the influence that you were talking about earlier on the hippies movement. And I was so pissed that I didn't get to buy that house. I'm going to share it here. See how cool it was, or it is. Let me see.
Well, what you're saying is not just the influence in the hippie movement. What you're talking about is you know, probably somewhere on the lines of like something like Operation Mockingbird, but it's the CIA involvement in Hollywood. The CIA has had a big hand in Hollywood, always. You
Mm-hmm.
can say it's Operation Mockingbird, but it's just the way that Hollywood has always run. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I'm not criticizing it. Now, you could see from some movies, especially franchises like Transformers.
Yeah,
Transformers is very pro-American, not in your not too in your face, but
nothing
it's a
bad
very
about that.
yeah. It's nothing that anybody should be too upset about. Like, oh, I got this American propaganda out of my face. There are a few times where Optimus Prime gives a real MAGA answer that people, you miss it, but he'll be like, "I believe that every single being deserves freedom," and you're like, "Okay, all right, dude, yeah," that. So in all three movies, he's kind of like that. He's absolutely based to
Interesting.
shit, to be honest with you, and
Wow.
all the explosions and the
Yes, they're
military
big present.
they help the Transformers. They're friends with them. They're allies. That in that movie, the military is working with these aliens, these AI aliens, protecting humanity from more evil AI aliens. I'm not saying that's what's really going on or anything like that, but I'm saying like, this is a very pro-American thing. Now, and another one is Zero Dark 30, the movie about killing Osama bin Laden. That is a huge
Right. I
pro-American.
forgot about that movie.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Stuff like that. Obviously, we already talked about Chris Kyle. We talked enough about Chris Kyle. But American Sniper, I personally love Clint Eastwood as a director. Um, but I'm sure there must have been some executive producer there with him telling him, let's do this, let's do that, some
Oh
specialist
yeah.
of some sort, you know? And that's totally normal. It's totally normal. There's other stories. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories, and we could do a whole podcast on
Oh,
that, honestly, which I think would be very interesting, is the CIA's involvement in Hollywood. But I don't want to get us too
yeah.
sidetracked right now.
Yeah, so I'll just show this house I was about to buy in front of Jared Leto's home. Literally, I would have been his neighbor. I don't know if he still lives there, but I was pretty disappointed that I got bid out by my competitor, whoever it was, when I was trying to buy this place. So I'm going to share my screen shortly here. Home is on Wonderland Avenue on Laurel Canyon. This is like a really cool community, very eclectic feel of a neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills. And this was the home I was looking to buy earlier this year. It was listed at $899. As you can tell, I mean, this is now it in his moment of revamp of more of a modern like feel to it, which is shitty because when it was for sale, it was very like cabiny and it was really cool. But I'll just show you really quick. This was the home. This is the current home on the market now. So they sold it to someone that wanted to cosmetically change it, that wasn't going to live in it, which really sucks, right? I could have been the neighbor there. I could have been living there. I could have had an original, but whatever. Anyways, this is it. It's very tiny. It's only a 2 bedroom. Very cool though. I mean, this is literally like a cabin. And in any case, it's directly across the street from Jared Leto. So this is the house here. I'm on Google Earth. I'll show you. This is it right here. And the compound of Jared Leto is literally right across the street where his main gate, where you are able to park like 20, 30 cars into this driveway, is right in front of it. So
Hmm.
it would have been like one of those cool stories to have as a person, like saying, "Hey, I live right in front of this old CIA or Air Force building," but
100%.
it's one of those opportunities missed, and they ended up putting it back on the market, and it's listed now at 1295. It's sold for
Wow.
1-1. It's sold for 1-1, dude. Sold for 1-1. They could have sold it to me for 1 million. I would have been happy. I would have been living there, and they put it back on the market after they remodeled it, and it's not selling. So
Was
I
this
think
before
that's
we
kind of
met?
what they get. Yeah, this is right before we met.
Hmm.
Or
Interesting.
actually, no, it's after we met. I didn't even tell you. Well, I already knew you at the time. We were this close. We were in counter offers. We were like this close to get it, but we got bid out by 100,000. So it was really stupid.
Interesting. Maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe a young Catholic boy like yourself wasn't supposed to be anywhere around that property.
Maybe that would have been bad for me.
Yeah, but I've heard
It would
about
have been
that.
cool.
I've heard about that
Yeah, what
property.
have you heard about this compound?
Um, I mean, these are just rumors. I don't think that I don't believe this. But the whole thing is that it used to be this like airfield, military airfield, where like the occult members of that within that military or whatever, they would do like ritual stuff in there. You know, some MK Ultra stuff.
Oh,
You
MK
know,
Ultra too. I just knew it as like an influential building for actors that influence Hollywood.
I feel like people use MK Ultra very specific these days, but I use it very general because I feel like there are different kinds of ways to do that. You know, and what you're mainly doing with that is you're getting someone to compartmentalize memories and basically being able to make somebody do whatever you want, like control somebody, like create a puppet,
Right,
and this
right.
goes into like this goes back into like ancient Egypt. Like they would tell the pharaohs, they would be like, you are what is it, the Osiris, you are this guy. Like it's not that you are, and so they would dress him up as Osiris and he would do whatever Osiris did. And then they would dress him up as Ra and then he would do whatever Ra did. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right, right.
And a
That's
lot of
like
that,
the maturing candidate type of
yes.
stuff, right? Like I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which he's kind of a nut. At least that's what people say. He said his father, Robert Kennedy Sr., was unfortunately, obviously assassinated by Sirhan Sirhan. Sirhan Sirhan supposedly says his body was taken over by something, and he didn't do it, like, or he didn't mean to. Right, from what I understand, is that kind of where you're
Yeah.
going?
Um,
I
it could
don't,
have been
that's pretty bizarre.
it could have been that Suran that happened to Suran. I think there's much more there going on. I think RFK probably, for him to be like, I forgive him, for him to do that, I forgive him,
Yeah,
Suran. For him to do that.
it's so funny.
Um, no, I'm sure he forgives him and stuff, but I think there's much more there than like, oh, this. What is he, Palestinian? What was he, Iranian?
Palestinian. He's Palestinian, I think.
Yeah,
I think he is. Sirhan Sirhan.
yeah. Wow, that's so like perfect.
It's weird. Very
Anyway,
weird. Very weird if that was
um,
true. Moving on to okay, you already talked about the Air Force Base. It is what it is. Unfortunately,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
what
look,
might have happened there.
I can't
Well, why did Jared
confirm.
Leto buy it? And he's in a cult himself. They say 30 Seconds to Mars, supposedly.
People could say everything, all these things, right? And I would
Yeah, it's
never
all
talk.
rumors and
Yeah, I would never talk on a podcast like with certainty. Not because I'm scared of getting
as you
sued, because
shouldn't.
people would never do that. But because the reality is, I don't like spreading fake shit, and I don't know what Jared Leto does. I don't know, but I do know that he should not have like pushed for that Tron movie. That's
Oh,
what I
was
do
it
know.
bad? The second
I,
movie, right?
yeah, I saw it.
I
I
didn't
thought
see
the
it.
dialogue. I thought what?
I saw the first Tron back in 2000, like 10 or 11 or 9. I don't remember.
It was so
It was
good.
okay.
Remember that?
Yeah, I thought it was good. The arcade game and the guy gets sucked in or something. I don't remember anymore. That was
Well,
sick
you must have been in college when it came out.
for high school. Yeah, one of the two.
No, because I was in high school when it came out, and we all had just started taking Molly and ecstasy and shit, and we were like
Oh
going to
shit.
Ultra, and so that
Oh
song,
fuck.
that movie had just come out, and Daft Punk was like the best of the best, and the soundtrack had come out, and watching that movie in 3D, fucking taking fucking Molly, going to Ultra and shit like that. So that's why I was like, you're probably in college by then.
Probably. I think I might have just graduated high school. I don't remember though. But so Tron 2 was crappy.
Dude, it's just there's something wrong. I mean, every time I'm on camera, I can rant about what's wrong with Hollywood, but there's something wrong with the dialogue. And also, they just gave him like this Asian chick that just like follows him and is just like his chick, but they don't ever really kiss. But it's very interesting. Probably was a move for the Chinese markets. I'm just being honest here.
Really,
Yeah,
really.
they do the show all
Yeah.
the
Well,
time. Like,
they make more money out in Hollywood. Makes more money out in other countries, like you talked about in the last podcast.
it's right. And so, and,
Which
and
you
that's
didn't clip. You didn't clip that part to go viral, or not viral, but to go on the podcast
Well, I asked
or
you if you
on the
want me to
social
make
media.
more clips.
Yeah, but that was that good moment. You could have used it when you were talking about Superman. But it's okay. Moving on.
But there was a
Um,
lot of.
um, all right, let's finish off. I think we're done with that one, actually.
Do you want to go into Michael Burry?
Yes, Michael Burry finally came on a podcast, which is pretty great to see because he's never on. I took a good listen to it, and it was interesting. We could talk about Palantir. We could talk about NVIDIA, the stock market, the housing market. But one thing I wanted to point out about that podcast, it was his voice did not match what I expected, number one. The way he looks, I thought I was going to get someone with a really deeper voice for some reason. It was very high pitched, very nerdy, but obviously he's a freaking genius, so I
Are you trying
get
to
it.
call
But I
Michael
did not.
Burry a bitch? You're trying to call Michael Burry a
No,
bitch?
no, no, no. That guy's badass. I wasn't expecting that form, but he came off super cool, friendly, like someone that actually would do really well on a podcast. And I was
To be honest
surprised
with you,
that
he,
he
he
was
came off
so
pretty charismatic.
like,
He came off pretty
yeah. And
charismatic.
he's like,
Yeah.
I don't do good on these things, and he did pretty damn good. Like he was actually
Question.
interesting to listen to. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's
I don't know
funny.
why
He
he said
didn't
that.
seem like he wasn't like a weird autistic guy being
He
like,
was
he
way
was,
better
he's
than
on.
Elon Musk. Way better than Elon Musk. Way
Dude,
better
don't even
than
get me
Peter
started on
Thiel.
that guy, bro. Dude,
Okay, but
I can't watch him. You know why? Because he leans into it. He thinks it's like cute. It's kind of cute that I'm like a little autistic, and it's like, dude, like I don't think he was, and he just like leaned into it. And now he's like stuck acting like a fucking autist. But
no,
anyway,
I think he is. But I found Michael Burry really cool to listen to, and I was like, wow, I want to hear more from this guy, even though I've always liked hearing from him. Some things I disagreed with the big audience of what they're try to picture him as, like you sometimes and your friends. But we can get into that right now. What did you think about Michael?
well, like we said, very eloquent.
Oh yeah,
Like super charismatic.
genius.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I also didn't. I think I've heard him talk once before, maybe, but I guess I wasn't too surprised about his
I never
voice.
have.
Like he's a finance guy, dude. I'm not expecting a finance guy to sound like a fucking Chad. You know what I mean? Like I'm not expecting that.
They do. They do. A lot of them do sound like Chads. The ones that make it up there.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, the ones I've met. Yeah.
All right. Well, guess what? Those guys aren't Michael Burry. That's why they're not up there. Up there. Okay.
That's
Um,
true. I mean, well,
uh,
some of them are actually up there. I'm talking about like high up guys at Goldman. But moving on, UBS. Anyways, Mike Burry.
no. So off rip. I love how it's Michael Burry versus Palantir. I love how he is this like symbol for taking down Palantir. And so, what does Palantir represent? Palantir represents, to some people, it represents the deep state, even though they claim that they're fighting the deep state. You know, they represent like a Trojan horse kind of thing. You know, nobody trusts them.
Now they do.
And
Now that's what the branding of it is now. It wasn't before. That wasn't what the audience
nobody
thought
knew they
initially.
existed. Nobody knew they
Right.
existed, and they also
Right.
weren't providing the AI technology for the facial recognition to bomb the Palestinians before then, right? So once they started doing that, that's what Palantir has been
Mm.
doing. And guess what? Israel is pissed. Israel is pissed
Why?
because it's not even
Because they're
working
talking
that
about
well.
it.
No, because their shit doesn't even work that well. That's not it, like you know.
Are you sure
you know,
Palantir is out there? I think it is. I actually did hear that.
No, it is out there, but Israel is mad. Their shit is not working that well. Oh, sorry. This is with Anduril, which is Palantir adjacent.
Anduril is not Palantir.
It's Palantir adjacent. Peter Thiel pretty much is like,
Yeah.
you know, this. He's like the Tony Stark of the MCU. If we're talking American deep state, military industrial complex, CIA, like it's the MCU, Peter Thiel is basically Tony Stark. You know,
It's pretty
Palmer
cool,
Lucky.
though. Tony Stark.
Yeah, no, I'm making it cool right now.
Elon
Palmer,
Musk too. Elon Musk too, though.
Elon
The
Musk
PayPal
is
Mafia
like
people.
Elon Musk is like Bruce Banner. He's like the Hulk.
Okay, weird. Why? Because he's just.
Well, he's
I
like
don't get
another
it.
genius too. You know what I mean? But I know you would. No, you know what? Sorry. Peter Thiel is like Nick Fury.
Don't know who that is.
He's Samuel Jackson. He's the black dude that put them all together. He put all the Avengers together. And then you're
Oh,
right.
I
Elon
stopped
Musk.
watching. I only watched one movie of the Avengers, so I don't really know who that is.
All right. What I'm trying to say is that
If
all of
that.
these all of these heroes, they relied on Tony Stark for technology and stuff like that, right? Peter Thiel funded Andrew Rayl. Like he found Palmer Luckey. He's like, dude, you're a genius. And if I'm not mistaken, Palmer Luckey said it on Joe Rogan that through Peter Thiel, he was funded. You know,
Yeah, it's
but
like InQtel sort of.
yes,
I
exactly.
guess
InQtel.
the new InQtel, right?
But Palmer Luckey had created. I'm not saying like, oh, he's just a puppet of Peter Thiel. No, there's people that say that kind of stuff. But no, Palmer Luckey had created Meta goggles, like with the things that they're selling, the Oculus Rift, the
Right,
Oculus, the
right.
Meta goggles.
Mm-hmm.
Meta bought him out for like $1 billion. And so. But apparently, and I could be wrong, but apparently the Israelis or maybe the Ukrainians or somebody is not too
It's
happy with.
Ukraine. I think it's more in Ukraine war, dude.
I don't know, dude. I think it's both, but I think it is the Ukrainians that are mad. I think the Ukrainians would be the ones that have the audacity to be like, "This is not working." Um, so, but yeah, apparently the thing is not working too well. But that's with time. Um, but yeah, so
Well,
that's another company that's
Michael Burry did say on that podcast that the media blew it out of proportion, that he didn't really short at $1 billion. That was based on the
right. It was
stock
like 10
price at that
million
time.
or like 7 million.
It
Yeah, it
was
was like
less. It was, yeah, it was little. It was nothing compared. I think it was 10 million. It wasn't a
dude, it
billion,
was
but
like 10
the
million.
media, yeah, they used the stock price at the time that happened, and they multiplied it by all the shorts he did, and they called it a billion, but it's really not a billion. It was really 10 million.
Yeah, but all that did was kind of show his hand a little early because he does feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
That's
of AI, he
basically
doesn't think AI is as he thinks it's like the .com era. Same thing with Nvidia, and he shitted on Bitcoin, which I was kind of happy to see, because the Bitcoin bros are against the stock market, but he shitted on Bitcoin because I saw in a statistic that 87% of the Nasdaq, the way wherever it goes, that's 87% of it is correlated to Bitcoin, except when the Nasdaq falls, Bitcoin goes down even further, more severe, and goes up in an even more advanced
that's
way. So
interesting.
it's all interconnected. But Michael Burry shitted on Bitcoin
Yeah.
also.
No, I saw that, which I found very interesting as well. He says it's a scam, it's a waste. Don't even bother. He's been
He's
holding
been
gold and
buying gold.
yeah, he's been
Yeah.
holding gold and silver. He's very, very open about it. Um, and yeah, he seems pretty confident with his position on Palantir, which is very interesting. And again, like I said, uh, just because people that don't know too much about this are kind of rallying behind Michael Burry because he kind of represents this thing of like, oh, this company's not actually worth what it's worth. You know what I mean? Like, just because that's going on doesn't mean that he's wrong. He is right. People said that about Tesla for years, but Tesla eventually turned a profit, but it didn't turn a profit for years, and its stock was very, very high, I believe.
Years,
My
many years.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
friend
yeah.
was.
It's mhm. Go
You
ahead.
might know a little bit more about that than I do, but I was just saying, like, so who knows what's going to happen? But like I said, I do very much enjoy that. Michael Burry is very openly talking about these things, and I love the memes that people make of the Christian Bale character portrayal. Like for example,
Yeah,
I think we talked
yeah.
about this a little bit, or maybe no, it was with my friend. I'm trying to get my friend on the podcast, the economist that you don't agree with. I think that would be an interesting
He's an
podcast, by the way.
economist. Are you sure he's an economist?
Yeah, he graduated in Penn State for economy.
Okay, good. Is that what
Yeah,
he's practicing?
no, 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 but he does, like, he is up to date with
He's
everything,
he's
but he's
dialed
a
in. Okay.
filmmaker as well. He's a filmmaker as well.
All right. He's not economist then. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. Like, maybe he is. I guess he is. He's probably right. He knows more than I do, I'm sure. But I've been investing for quite a bit, but I'm nothing compared to like I hired a financial advisor like maybe 3 years ago, but before that I was investing for like 8 years on my own. But anyways, he's way more advanced than I could ever be, and I couldn't even talk about this. But their earnings per share ratio on the Tesla stock was like out of this world stupid. It was stupidity, and somehow it caught up, and everybody shitted on Tesla. Tesla is doing really well. A lot of subsidies from the government. I think Palantir's in the same boat. It's even worse in some
They're
ways,
kind of
but
reliant on the government, on the subsidies from the government.
yes, and that's why it's hard to freaking short it, or that's hard to it's
Bet
hard
against
to
it. No, I
bet
understand.
against it because the U.S. government military industrial complex that you were talking about is backing it. So like, is it
But
really gonna fall?
we're dealing with something that is like while Trump might be part of the military industrial complex and the deep state, right? While that very well it may is true, whatever. Um, Anything could happen at any moment. Like this administration is so flip floppy and wishy washy and so like spur of the moment that for all you know, out of nowhere, they could cancel their contract with Anduril and Palantir out of nowhere.
Not with
You
Peter
know,
Thiel. No, Peter Thiel and him are too close.
maybe you're right. Maybe I underestimate how deep Peter Thiel is with all of this. He sounds like a chill guy, by the way. I would totally
Who?
sit down with Peter Thiel, and I'd be like, listen, I know you're talking a lot about the Antichrist, and I think that's great. I think that's a good move. How would you feel about a movie about the Antichrist? You know what I'm saying? How about we make a
With
movie about
jammers in it. There you
Yeah,
go.
how about we put the Antichrist in jammers, Mr. Teal? You know, but yeah, they're
so,
tripping.
so
I'll tell you something right now. If Palantir needs one thing, is they need an aspiring young filmmaker, producer to let the youth love them. Okay, the youth wants to love the technocratic elite. Let us love you. Okay, but you got to give us some love back.
technocratically, that's kind of true. Yeah, so he's against it. I think he said in 2 years he's thinking it's gonna go really under. I think that's what he
Yeah, he
said,
said
right? In
2 years.
2 years,
Yeah,
which is interesting, dude, because I own quite a bit of it.
yeah. That's why
But I've
That's
been
what I'm
I've
telling
been
you.
but I've been shaving off of my holdings of it for the last 2.5 years because I bought it at
Yeah,
$7 or $9.
you and
At the time, I
everybody
didn't know anything
else.
about the stock,
So
really.
think about it. If you're doing that, think about how many other people are doing that.
Yeah, but it's good to get your earnings in. But it's true, like it really isn't making that much money at all.
Yeah.
It's actually looks really bad on paper. The actual financial paper of it is bad,
What
but
was the thing
it's
he
with
was
the
saying where he was
projection.
like,
The projection,
what was that thing he was saying? Was like
the
from
future.
the projections, from what he sees on paper compared to how many billionaires are running it.
Oh yeah, yeah. 5 billionaires are running it, so he thought that was interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that because the PayPal mafia created everything, and there's like multiple billionaires in that, and they
This
all
is
jump
the
around to
PayPal
different
mafia that
companies.
we're talking about.
That's my
They are.
point. That's my point. So
Yeah.
can you bet against the PayPal mafia who's now really
That's what
connected
he's
into the White
saying.
House? I don't
That's
know.
what he's saying. Yeah, that's why the backlash from Alex Karp. How dare you bet against the PayPal mafia, fucking motherfucker? You know what I mean? That's why the backlash. It's because that's what Michael Burry's doing, which is what I was saying. It's kind of a big deal. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and he also said there's no clear sight. Like he doesn't know exactly when the stock market is going to fall because he alluded that it's kind of like the .com era, but he didn't know exactly when the peak is, and that's the scary part. Because if you listen
Yeah.
to people like Michael Burry too much, people like yourself or myself or younger than us will never invest until it happens, and it could be tomorrow or it could be 10 years from now, and they just missed out on 10 years of gains. That's the
But
problem with
I don't think
like a
it
Mike Burry.
warrants that. Like I don't think it turns into that because this doesn't make me want to not invest. It makes me be more realistic with how I should invest. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if I mean yes and no, because like a lot of people that are following. Here's the thing: it's not even Michael Berry's fault. It's all the Michael Burry memes that are seem popular. They take a lot of what he says out of context and they just f everybody up. They mind f them, and then they're all fear based. But what they at least should do is buy gold or buy silver, buy ammo, buy whatever. But a lot of this, I think, is fear based. Not Michael Burry, the memes, and it destroys people's future
But
of
the
wealth.
memes are
I think.
funny. The memes are funny. It's like seeing that
I know
ninety
it is funny.
ninety five percent of items on Black Friday were financed. Just to do that.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah.
So people were posting the Christian Bale meme where he's like looking at the computer, you know, from the movie, where he's like,
Yeah.
it's his face like, like when he's discovering the bubble, the mortgage bubble. Um, so I
Speaking
think
of
that
which, he doesn't think the housing market's going to collapse. And if it does, he said it's not for a while, by the way. All that bullshit that I heard on
I
the
just
media and social media is complete bullshit about, like, they're taking things out of context, saying 20% of foreclosures have grown in the last year. What they don't tell you is that we're at like all-time low foreclosures. It's
yeah.
ridiculous what's going on. Um, I think we're at 180, 175 foreclosures thousand. At the peak, we were at 900,000 foreclosures. And when it got to 2007, 2008, I wish I had the graph in front of me, but it was like 700,000. It had a steady upside like this. And then that's when the bad shit happened and the Great Recession happened. Right now, it's been going down, dude, like this, and it's been flattening, just flat, 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 flat. And yes, it did go up 20% from last year, but the year before it was even higher. So it did a U. So it
So
went
it
down,
technically
it
went
went
down percent. It
up.
went like, yeah,
No, no. So like in 2023, it was higher, and then in 2024 it went down, and then 2025 went back up. So now it's back at its at the plane at the
I
flatness.
see.
But it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
flat, dude. It's bullshit. I mean, it scares people, young people, to not want to buy a home. Oh, 20% foreclosures went up when they realize it's been low for the longest time. It takes like 4 or 5 years for foreclosures to really start to build up. It's momentum based, and then it peaks, but it's been flat. So it's kind of annoying as a realtor hearing people talk about it out of
Well,
context. They don't even know what they're talking about. It's all the headline.
to be honest with you, if there's hold up, sorry. To be honest with you, if there's young people out there that are interested in buying homes and they are going to Michael Burry memes for guidance, then they deserve to be cooked. They deserve to not own homes. They
That's
deserve
true.
to wear a Neuralink, and they deserve for Palantir to have complete ownership over their bodies forever. Okay, so
It's a joke, everyone, but yes, I get what
no, I'm
you're
not joking.
saying.
No,
You are.
but no, but for real, like think about that. Like as a young person, if you have some sort of money to be able to put a down payment for a home and all these things, you're gonna look at so many different outlets for information, bro. And if you're getting scared off by Michael Burry memes or I don't know how many people are actually being scared off by this, but I do think that the younger
I think there's a
generations do
lot.
have a negative outlook on the housing market and overall the stock market. People don't, which is why so many people are socialists. People don't see themselves owning assets.
I
We've already
know.
talked about this. So because of that, um, yeah, I just don't see people,
Well,
caring.
CNBC and a bunch of like well-known financial people on social media are talking about it, but they're not in real estate, so it's even worse. And then people are taking that advice. So, anyways, I guess my point is you got to read the actual article that's saying that, and on the fine print, they're going to cover their ass, and it's going to show still at all-time lows foreclosures, but no one's going to see that by the time they read the headline.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And that maybe that's something that not a lot of people are talking about is like the misinformation within the real estate, industry that
Mm-hmm.
would scare off sellers. I mean, that's kind of huge, actually, because that has an effect on other parts of the economy. So, as you
I
know, my
will
mom's
say, I will say though, if real estate was to collapse, which it could, prices, it could. It hasn't ever really since the Great Recession, and then there was a blimp time during World War II, I think. After I think, but my point is, um, the Federal Reserve is always buying mortgage-backed securities and Treasury bonds through quantitative easing consistently. If it wasn't for them, then yeah, I would see the housing market collapse and everything else, the stock market, every asset of value would collapse. But the Federal Reserve's always constantly buying treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and it's basically giving stimulation to the market. That's the
yeah, it's
reality.
injecting something into the market.
And that's why Michael Burry and one of my favorite people, Ron Paul, is against the Fed. Although
Love
as I
Ron.
more mature, Ron Paul's amazing. As I'm maturing as well, because I
Yeah,
used to kind
Michael
of feel
Burry
like,
was
yeah,
talking a
and
lot about the Fed as well. Sorry to interrupt you. Michael Burry was talking a lot
I
about
was
the
kind
Fed
of
as
like
well.
end the Fed, and the Fed. I kind of get it. I mean, the Federal Reserve is not really the government, and there's a lot of control they have. But I wish I remember the article when Paul Volcker, the Federal Reserve chairman before Alan Greenspan, during the 80s, when he died, there was an article where he described the importance of the Fed. It's kind of like saying like a deep state person protecting the deep state. I get it, but there was something in there that was underlying like message, but of some importance to show the reason why the Federal Reserve is important. So I don't know. I'm conflicted with it, but I don't remember that. I wish I did. But
You know, my
it,
buddy and you would agree on this. My economy buddy and you would agree on this because I've had this conversation with him so many times. Like, fuck the Fed, dude. And he's like, we literally need them, and I'm like, dude, no.